It's good. Well, we're holding now in the Vidram again, that in the question of the Rif. Let's just explain again the question. The language was, let's look at it carefully. Language was in the Vidram. In Mevorchim al Kriyasa, Kemosh Mevorchim al Kriyas Megillah. V'alo mitzvahs asehi shene'emar v'igata lebincha b'yoymahu. We pointed out already beforehand that there are different ways of asking this question. Rush, when he asked the question, from God, the idea of this talking, what he answered was that there's no din of defense, there's no din of Sipur. It's halacha only in Sikar. That's how we understood the Rush. The Maral told us, no, even there is a din Sipur, it's Ikrei Balei. This is really not in any way mentioned or inferred in the Rush. That's another thing which we pointed out, that Maral is Nitchet L'Kama V'Kama Rishonim. But that was the question. But his language was also Lama Im V'Chal Haggadah. The Rif asks it differently. The Rif takes something for granted, and he says Lama Im V'Chim Al Kriyasa. By saying Kriya, the difference between Haggadah means to tell to someone else. Sipur can be to yourself, but usually also means to someone else. Haggadah is definitely to someone else. That's a davar pashat. Haggadah means to, that's a, yeah, okay, we'll just leave it at that. That's where Haggadah is a telling to someone else. There's no such thing as Haggadah believe. There's the idea of a mirror believe. There's no such thing as Vayagid believe. There's no such thing. It has to be to someone else. He takes for granted this is not a mitzvah of Sipur, it's a mitzvah of Kriya. And that's a problem because there's no such language in the Chumash at all. The Chumash of the Leil Pesach is v'yigadita lebin chai. It's not a question of Kriya, it's a question of Sipur. Sipur to relate to another person. At the best, we knew it's also a mitzvah of Zikora. Granted, we know that from the Rambam, from the Rosh, there's also a mitzvah, the Ikar mitzvah is Zikora. But whether it's a style of Zikorin through Haggadah or Sipur, that is another question. It definitely has to be verbal. Why does he think it's Kriya? Where's it coming from? That was the question number one. Question number two, now let's understand carefully, what's he doing here? How is it possible to call it Kriya? Kriya means say we read a specific text. Now in the Chumash, it doesn't say any specific text. The way the Rambam formulates the mitzvah, there's no reason to say whatever you want. The minimum you can say to a child, for example, which doesn't know what he's doing, you can tell him we were slaves. Look at that slave. You were like him, and now you're free. That's it. That's a Gemara. And so, the Raisa, definitely there's no text. Doesn't say anywhere in the Chumash or in the Gemara. This Sutra Be'er Simcha that we quoted yesterday, which sees this is Nirmaz in the pasuk of Lechem Einish Einim Olav Dvarav Harbe. We pointed out that at the best, if we're to accept that idea that it means Mikra Bikurim, means the Parsha of Arami Evidavi, that would have to be a remez, not an Ikar Adin. We pointed out because if the Anisa really means Oini really means that the Eraisa, then the din would be that you can't be Yotze with someone else. There's no din of Shomeh Ke'oneh when there's a din of Aniyah, only by Amira or Tkiya, etc., as we pointed out, but not by a din of Aniyah, because Aniyah means Omer B'Kol Ram. Well, as we pointed out, Shomeh Ka'ina only means you're part of a reading experience. It's as if you're the reader. Let me just explain what source of that idea is. I mentioned this year a while ago. The Gemara in Sukkah says Minayin l'Shomeh Ka'ina, and it brings two psukim in Malachim. One says the story that Melech Yeshio read a certain Megillah. Okay, read a certain parsha in the Torah. And then it said that his scribe read it to him. The Gemara asked the Kasha, did the scribe read it to him or did he read it on his own? The Gemara says, obviously, when the Torah says to read, it doesn't mean you have to be reading on your own. You're part of a reading experience. Someone reads it to you. It's as if you also read it. What does it mean? That's not shlichus. No one thought about shlichus at the time. There's nothing. It was simply an idea, as I pointed out. Like when I was a child, I used to go to the library. So we used to sit over there. I remember there was a librarian and little chairs around her, and she used to read us the Hardy Boys, Face Fuss, whatever other books she read to us. That was called reading hour. You probably had it in kindergarten. I don't know. This is called Shemei HaKoyne. We're part of a mutual reading experience. That's all it is. It's not been shlichus, it's not been other things. There's so many achronish terrors on this, but I don't think there's shtickle me'elam das of the stomach of the Gemara and Sukkah. That together, that kriya doesn't have to be your own reading, can also be with someone else. The kriya or amira, that's not a halacha in aniyah. By aniyah, it's not that way. It says if you talk the kol ram, that means you can't be part of an experience. You have to say what you're saying loudly. You can't do that by being part of someone else's reading experience. That's why the halacha is, for example, by mikra bikurim, the person when he brings bikurim has to say the parsha, a certain parsha, this parsha over here. And the Gemara said, the Yerushalmi brings out there was a tabla shel zav, there was a tablet of gold that one of the, I think, Heleni Amalka donated to the Mikdash. And they used to read with the guy. He used to read it. If he had on a mikra bikurim, he used to read the word. They used to help him read the words. We help a child reading Aleph Beis from his Aleph Beis page. That's the same thing. Why weren't the Yetziat with Shemei HaKoyne? Because Adra, because it says Anisa. Anisa means B'kol Ram. This is something I remember. It was a davar pasha to me, but I actually saw it recently also in the tshuva of Rabbi Pesach Frank in Hatzvi. He brings this b'mikra also as one of a raya for something else. But this is a davar pasha. If that's the case, since the Gemara says before that the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Adrabah, the minig was Bizman HaMirayim, that one person read and everybody listened. You look at the Lashon HaGemara in Psachim, the Gemara says, who is going to say the Haggadah? And the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef will say the Haggadah. The Gemara asked the question, but Rabbi Yosef is a Summa, and he's put them in our mitzvahs. He's only chayiv midrabbanan. So the Gemara says, well, the Haggadah is also drabbanan. The Gemara thinks, because the Haggadah depends on matzah and morer and their drabba. It's a whole shtickle Torah in the Gemara of Kuftes Ravam and Beis in Psachim. At the end of the day, the minig was Shemei HaKoyne. If you look carefully at the Lashonis of the Mishnayos in the 10th parak of Psachim, it's always Mazdu Loi, Heviu Loi. Who's the Loi? The head of the table. The father, the one which is leading the thing, he's the one that everything was done for. That's why Tais is clear that maybe only he has to drink the Arba Kaisis and not everybody has to drink it. The Chila and Tais was Tzadik Tesam and Beis of Psachim. Why? Because the Lush of the Mishnah is going directly towards the person which made the Seder. That's how it was done. He literally made the Seder. He was the Shemei HaKoyne. Nope. So that's the case. It's clear that drasha that Rabbi Simcha wants to say from Lechem Eini is can at the best be an asmachta. Ramez is no way it can be a drasha me'ikar din, because that's the case. There wouldn't be a din of Shemei HaKoyne by the Haggadah.
Right.
I'm trying to say the whole din of Ram Yovid Avi is only a din to Rabbanan. That's another pashut. I can grant that Harizim Meshubah definitely said it could, now what's the Agdor of that Rabbanan? We'll see soon. Is they get an Ider mitzvah? Is it a getter of making Ribli Shu'ur in the mitzvah? What is the getter of that Rabbanan? Well, the Rif understands that Din Rabbanan is giving the mitzvah a tzura. And it is saying he transformed it from a mitzvah of Sipur to a mitzvah of Kriya. They gave it a tzura, they gave it a form. They put the mitzvah of just talking, putting it into a form of talking a specific text. Equals now, interesting, by them doing that, they transformed the Agdar of the mitzvah from just speaking to reading. It's not that I'm speaking through the text. Interesting. I am reading the text to other people. I'm letting them know through reading a text, okay? That is what's happening here. So it's been transformed from a mitzvah of Sipur and Amira to a mitzvah of Kriya. Now that's something really very interesting that a Din Rabbanan redefines a mitzvah deraisa. That's very interesting. I can understand that they say we'd like to do it in a certain form, but that taking it very far to say that now from now on the mitzvah is redefined vis-a-vis that form. It's clear that that's not miyakev. It's clear that he'd been mekayim the mitzvah. We have no indication. The Gemara says mefurish. that you're yoitzer with your little child simply by telling him a story about Avadim without even talking about any pasuk in the Chumash. Definitely not Aram Yovid Avi. I mean, the little child doesn't. Most kids aren't even around when you're saying Aram Yovid Avi. They wouldn't know about it. Ask them. Many people are tired by then. You ask so many questions about the Chacham, the Rosh, and the Eschem, the Lachem, and the Hol, and the Kil, Lachma Anya. By the time you got there, you guys are rolling. Afapi, that's the Ikra Haggadah. That's very interesting to take account of that. But at the end of the day, it's not Me'akev. It's a Davar Pashid, it's not Me'akev. The din of Aram, maybe a din Drabon, a Tzur Drabon, but it's not Me'akev in the Kiyam Mitzvah Deiraisa. It's not as if Chachamim were oiker the Kiyam of a Deiraisa and decided, no, from now on you're only Mekayim it that way. We do have things like that. I pointed this out that we have. I sent in the Marmakaimis, which I sent like 2 hours ago on the site. I sent a little sheet, a little kitzur of certain ideas that I was thinking about today. I don't figure that anybody had the time to look in it, but it's worth looking into it. For example, are you Mekayim lulav on Yom Rishon Shabbos Shechal b'Shabbos? Or whenever you blew shofar on Rosh Hashanah on Yom Shechal b'Shabbos. So Kiveger Nebuch writes in the Mishnayos that he thinks you're Yotze Deiraisa. Once again, I don't know how to deal with this very well because Mefusher Ben Yoina in Brachas it says you're not. It says Mefusher Ben Yoina in Brachas or Ben Yoina writes in Brachas. Let me read to you for a moment. Ben Yoina specifically writes in Brachas in the Shaila. Can you be? What happens if a person reads Kriyat Shema at night after Chatzos? Is he Mekayim the Mitzvah Deraisa or not? Should he read it? What happens, these yeshiva bachrim that do whatever they do, and all of a sudden they remember after Chatzos they didn't say Kriyat Shema. Are they supposed to say Kriyat Shema then? A nice question. Zoter Rabbeinu, the Talmid Rabbeinu brings that some people say that you should do it because Mitzrayim you have to do it, and then they bring B'Shem Marenu, which is Rabbeinu himself. He says no, you don't have to. You shouldn't. You don't have to do it at all. This is fine. Let me just read it. Daf Amid Gimel and Daf Yarif. We dedicate the Mishkan. Where Rabbeinu writes. No, that's another one. Just let me find this one. Just 1 minute. Should be over here. No, it's not there. It's the first parak. It's in the first parak. 1 minute. Daf Aleph. In Daf Aleph, he writes, Benira Lemari Harav, Natur Rachmanu Parke, which is Rabbeinu Yoina. The Sfila Rabban Shafila Kriyat Shema Atzma, Sheyimin HaTorah Kol Alayla, Eina Kaira Oyser Acher Chatzos. Sheyicholim Chacham Lepatra Mitzvahs Hasei Kozman, Sheoisin Keim Mishum Siago Mishum Kima Mitzvah Atzma. Da'ochi Chazina Belulav Shemitzvasim in HaTorah Yom Rishon Afilo Ochi Keshachal Yom Tavishim B'Shabbos Patru Chacham Litlei Mishum Gzeira D'Shem Yevrena Arba'am B'Shusarabim. V'chavisadim B'tzitzis Nami Api Shator Chiva Yisrael V'tira Kalayim V'Iyan Atzitzis T'chsiv V'Yisrael B'Shatnus etc. That's mutter Aflo B'Kei Afilo Ochi Hayu Patron Oyser B'Sham Gzeira Shum Suslayla. So this only says
different Indian. What? Totally different Indian though. By Soifer, at the time when he's doing the Soifer, there's a chassash, he might come the Suya Daladamas. By the time you say Shema after Chatzos, it's done already. It's already been over on the Siag. So there's no longer such a chassash anymore.
I'm going to have to ask you to suggest first. Let me finish the primary sources, then we'll hear if you have what to add to them, if you don't mind. Okay? Thank you. So in this Rabbeinu Yoina, we only see that you're potter for the mitzvah. It doesn't say that you're not Mekayim the mitzvah. That's true. We find here that Shemakim Siag, you're potter for the mitzvah, therefore you do not have to read afterwards, but it doesn't say that if you did it, you're not Mekayim. But it's a Mefurish Taisus in Sukkah. Taisus writes in Sukkah, and we find it for you. And where's the Taisus in Sukkah? Well, Taisus writes, 1 minute. In Taisus writes in Sukkah, where is this Taisus in Sukkah that I wrote down? Right, just 1 minute. Sukkah of Gimel, right, that's the Sukkah. The Gemara says there's a Gzeira, Machleket, B'Sham, B'Silo, what happens if you have a sukkah with the shulchan is in the house? So it's the Gzeira b'Drabbanan not to sit in that sukkah. Maybe you'll end up eating in the house. Taisvis and Av Gimel Amid Aleph Divramasu the Amar Lachmani Beishamai. So Taisvis is the end of the Taisvis. Taisvis says, person sits at the beginning of the sukkah. The guys are we're afraid maybe he's going to follow his table, go outside, or go into the house, or if the table is going towards outside. The Gemara says if you didn't follow that gzeira and you had a sukkah, which let's say your table is found mostly in a place where it's possible, where it's also to sit. Many people have that issue. You have a long table in the sukkah, and the big part of the table, or almost all of the table, is found. The table may be found in a makom which you can't sit. What happens if you don't have the shear of the table, which you have? There's no part of the table. It's there. What's the din? Can you sit? Can you sit there? So it's a gzeira drabana. So the Gemara says that like hiyamta mitzvah sukkah miyamecha. You could probably think it means you weren't mekayim drabanan. So Taisvis, afilu midiraisa loikiem. The tzimtik gzeira drabana is as such. Therefore, you're not even mekayim the deraisa. Dosh take that you say Taisvis that not just the halacha that they parted you from the chiyuv, they were oiker the kiyum of the mitzvah. You weren't mekayim the mitzvah of sukkah miyamecha. It means a person which goes afterwards. Taisvis is supposed to. We understand the halacha that they tell you we can be oiker and mitzvah. Lashon the Gemara Yevama says yesh pech biad chacham la'aker davar min ha'torah b'shev ha'al ta'aseh. But here we have a halacha that b'shum siyagim b'shum gzeira they're oiker literally to say not to say that you're not mekayim the mitzvah at all. Not that you shouldn't oiker the chiyuv, you also oiker the kiyum. And that's a chiddush found in this Taisus. Now, Lamais, it's a machlekes harishayin. There are two Taisus in Kuf Tesvav and Kuf Chaf and Psachim, which occurs kemat mefurish. That once Chazal were masakin, for example, that the Iker mitzvah of, I'll give one example, the Iker Seder of matzah is dafka with the Afikaima, which is Shitas HaRashbam and many Rishonim. L'maisa, you're not mekayim the mitzvah with the first matzah that you ate, and they have to have a whole shmooze. Why do you make the bracha then? It's a big Taisus. The Gemara gives reasons why you make the bracha on the first one, but l'maisa, it's on the last one. It's on the Afikaima. But that's the Iker mitzvah, according to the Rashbam, it's before that the mitzvah's matzah is dafka ala soiva and not l'tiyava. Okay, one has to read the sugya of Psachim. I'm not going to do that now. Maybe it's another sugya we'll learn. So there we have clear two Taisus would say this. On the flip side is Taisus writes before that this is like Kiyas de Miyushiv and Kiyas de Mu'ummah. So Taisus takes for granted that the first Kiyas Lamaisa, you're not mekayim the mitzvah. You're only making the mitzvah. The mitzvah is only on the Kiyas during Musaf. One has to understand that. Why do we make the bracha on the first ones? So there's a whole sugya that to explain, and this is not the place where I'm going to explain. But one should see the sugya in Kuf Tesvavim in Psachim, Kuf Chaf Amid Aleph in Psachim. There's a certain instinct Hakdorah there, which I'd love to talk about maybe another time. At the end of the day, their sheet is they're both by Kiyas and by matzah. Or if hypothetically the Gemara discusses what happens if you have no other vegetable except for your lettuce, which is your morah. And you're going to have to use that for karpas. When do you make the alachilas morah? The Gemara says of there, you make the alachilas morah in the beginning on the karpas. Although you're going to be mekayim the mitzvah of morah with the second time of eating lettuce after you ate matzah. So often it's a big, beautiful sugya Gemara and Arab Psachim. It's really worth going into. I just want to point out that Taisus equates these things to Kiyas de Miyushiv and Kiyas de Mu'ummah. Understanding that also by Kiyas de Miyushiv and Kiyas de Mu'ummah, which we know Me'ikar Adin, Shaifer is only Kiyas, the Bracha is only Drabbanan. And they gave it a tzura that how you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to make with the Shaifer with Brachas. That's we know they gave it a tzura. So according to this these two Taisus in Psachim, Kuf Tesvav and Kuf Chaf, it comes out that because they gave it a tzura to the mitzvah, they were oiker, at least with the Rabbanon, the kiyum of the deraisa, the Kiyas de Miyushiv, the Kiyas de Miyushiv, which is a very interesting idea.
So, Rabbi, asking not the liba de hilchasa here, but based on this discussion, no, I know that. But based on this discussion, if you had 10 people get together right now to make a minyan, would they actually form a chalos of a minyan? Or because people, if they've closed the shuls, then it would not be a chalos?
This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. Be very honest at all. I don't even.
No, it does because I'll tell you why. Because you're saying that Chazal had the ability to be ma'akir the thing with shevi al taseh. So here,
Chazal.
You're mixing.
No, I'm saying I'm just.
Yosef.
Yes.
Slowly. Okay. All we're saying here is that everyone agrees that Chachamim can be oker a chiyuv deraisa. It seems to be a machlokes harishonim where they can be oker a kiyum deraisa midrabanan. I do not know if they're oker a kiyum deraisa, but definitely oker the kiyum derabanan. They totally gave it a new definition. They said that happened derabanan. Now that's all we know. Now you're asking a new question: is there a minyan in a place where people are not on the same makayim? If there's nothing which puts them together.
No, I'm saying, if they're in the same makom,
one porch and you're in another.
No, I'm saying if you have.
No, I actually think I know it's not a minyan. You can't say a double should be kedusha. I'm not pashkin here. Don't.
No, what I'm saying is that if you've got 10 people in the same room when they're not supposed to be in the same room, do they form a minyan?
Yeah, 10 people in the same room.
Yes.
Not if the computer in the same room. If the people are in the same room.
If the people are in the same room, right? Yeah. And the Rabbanim have issued an issur against
that. We're not talking about Rabbanim. It's meaningless. I'm talking about the Chazal, which Chacham Smuchim, which the Skabla Halacha B'chol Makom. They have a capability of making Takanas L'chol Klal Yisrael. No such person exists and no such body exists. So totally irrelevant. You don't want to get me on a rampage what I think with Rabbanim, you know. I mean, let me go.
No, I know already. But
on the internet at the moment. But don't you remember? I once told you how my father read the word Rabbanim. He put it into 2 words. We'll let it at there. Okay, figure it out. Cut the word in 2 and figure it out. Okay, let's go further. Okay, if I may. Now, so basically we have here that the idea of the Rif say, now is there such a pass? I just want to point out the Taisus Rosh Hashanah writes explicitly. I forget, he asked the question. Once you are Mekayim the mitzvah with Kiyas HaRishaynos, by doing the second ones, you're over Baal Taisif. The polar opposite of Taisif and Psachim, right? So the Adrabah, the Iker mitzvahs with the Araisa, his question is just about Taisif. How can you fulfill also the din drabbanan of kiyas with the brachos? That's mamash taisus and Rosh Hashanah, which are the polar opposites. I'm sorry to point out this is a big machlekes harishonim. Is there such a thing of yesh kech b'yad chacham la'akar a kiyum and not just a chiyum? Seems to be a machlekes and baalei taisus. Whatever that is, very understood, very clearly understand that if they're
Rabbi, where's that Tosas in Rosh Hashanah?
Where's that Tosas in Rosh Hashanah? I'll tell you in a minute if you want. Just 1 minute. Okay, so now l'chayra according to Yevim Machlekes Rishon. Now that's a double pasha that if they're oiker the kiyum, it's a bisa bekutcha that the din rabbanan gave a tzura to the mitzvah. And now the mitzvah is redefined at least midrabanan. Now, there's another shaila in my mind. Do we say that once Rabbanan gave it a tzura, even midraisa doesn't have a kiyum, or it's only midrabanan doesn't have a kiyum? We're not going there. This is not really the topic. I just want to open up the idea to allow you to think options. But at the end of the day, that makes sense. But definitely according to Taisus Rosh Hashanah, or in places where there's no gzeira. Yaina only says it's only when it's a makom siag b'gzeira. Just making a tzura. He doesn't think that he has a problem saying they have a right to be oikar dvar Torah at all. So I'm pointing out this is machlekes harishonim, but whatever it is, it's only if it makes sense if they can be oikar the chiyuv and the kiyum. But here by Psias Mitzrayim, we know even the Rif is going to be moida that you're yotzim b'di'eved without kriyas psukim. So they weren't oikar a kiyum at all. There's no question here. There's no question about it. So what? And yet he's willing to say that because they told us to do it midrabanan through kriya, that now is a tzura which defines the mitzvah. It's a nice way of saying that now that would mean that even midrabanan you're yotze the deraisa, the deraisa of Sipur still continues to be. Afal became, since midrabanan has a tzura of kriya, the bracha now has to deal with that tzura d'Rabbanan. Now that's a very interesting observation and a very interesting idea, which one wonders. You need a little more proof to understand where this is coming from. So this is quite a big chiddush. The question of the Rif is based on two premises. I repeat again: A, that there is a din kriya d'Rabbanan. It's a halacha dafka of kriyas psukim, not just amiras psukim, but kriyas psukim. That's number one. B, although it's not miyakev, but midrabanan, that has to be done. The bracha, which is also drabanan, has to be on that. And since the bracha doesn't fit for the tzur drabanan, although there's a kiyum derais without it, they were not misakin a bracha, which is interesting. One wonders if there's other precedent for such a thing, because this is the basis of the question. I wish we had the chuvs. I don't have the chuvs on Rif. The Rishonim bring the Rif. I don't know. They didn't see the chuvs on Rif inside. I looked for it, couldn't find it. One wonders. There's a lot of hanachas here which have to be proven and found basis for to understand the tzura of the question. But this is the question of the Rif. What does he answer? Let's ask another question before I go further. So how does he define it? He decides that any kriya of parsha is called kriya, is a mitzvah kriya, which is interesting because normally we could have thought only it's a din if there's a lach of mikri and toich kisvi HaKodesh with a megillah and klaf, there's a din of kriya. But to say there's a mitzvah of kriya just because it's printed in a book which doesn't have a din sefer meikir adin, the Jeraishim Rabban has no din of kisvei HaKodesh unless it was written like a Megillah B'tzura. So right there, Agada doesn't have a din of kisvei HaKodesh as far as Tumas HaYadayim is concerned, and yet he decides this is called kriya. Granted, I have no problem with it, but that's what he decides. This is called kriya. So that's the case. You have a question about a kriya shema. Kriya shema is definitely a mitzvah of a kriya saparsha. You can't just say, hey God, I believe in you, you're nice. No, you have to say the psukim and the chumash. And so here the shaila on the table is going to be. If that's the case, it's a parsha of kriya. So why doesn't he ask on kriyat shema? Why doesn't he ask on kriyat shema the same type of question? He seems to be equating to Megillah and differentiating to Megillah and kriyat shema, because on kriyat shema there's no birchas mitzvahs. There are other brachas, but there's no birchas mitzvahs. No asher kitchonu mitzvahs v'tzivanu likrois es hashma. There's no such bracha. What's the shot over there? So l'chayra there, you're going to have to say something else. There are brachas on Shema. Let's start with this. We'll understand it carefully. There are definitely brachas on Shema. You all know it. There's the brachas lefanah and the brachas achareh. That we know. The question is, what are the agdora of those brachas, and can those brachas supplement, or rather substitute the nusach of birchas hamitzvahs? That's the question on the table. Okay? And actually, I found things in Rishonim which I'm referring to see this. First and foremost, I want to show you a certain Rambam. The Rambam writes when there's a big Shaila La'alacha, Rambam writes in Hilchos Sukkah. You don't have the sources. I want you to listen to them. I sent them in this small little sheet. Rambam writes in Hilchos Sukkah, in Perik Vav, the Rambam writes in Halacha Yud Beis, Kol Zman she'yikanes leishev b'sukkah kol shiva v'vorech kodim sheyeshev asher kitshonu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu leishev b'sukkah. In Halacha Yud Gimel it writes, V'chein tumtum ve'androgynous. Tumtum and androgynous, both are people, androgynous, etc., with these simanim of Zachris versus Nikvus. They're not sure. What din they have? Are they sperm or they're nekevos? And the nafkamina is if he's a zachar, he's chayiv, and it's a sukkah. If he's a nekeva, he's pater. Okay? What's the din b'kai yavna? Does he have to sit in the sukkah? So it's a suffik deraisa. So we pass in la'aloch, you have to sit in the sukkah. If you're suffik chayiv, suffik pater, suffik zachar, suffik nekeva, you have to sit in the sukkah. Does he make the bracha? Does he say Asher kitchon mitzvayis v'tzivanu leishav b'sukkah? L'chari is b'chuy b'daraisa to be machmer to sveika daraisa l'chumr. Although according to Shittas Haramam, that's also a din drabanan. Does he make the bracha? We make brachas and mechayvim drabanan too, as we discussed yesterday. And the matbeh doesn't change, as we discussed yesterday. Should he make the bracha? Shekichan mitzvayim mitzvayim leishav basukah. So Ma'aseh say machlekes Rambam and Rav. The Rambam writes, "V'chein tumtum v'androigen is la'olam ein mevorchim leishav basukah, v'pnei shem chayavim misafik v'ein mevorchim misafik." We don't make brachas on a safik. Ein mevorchim misafik. We don't make brachas on a safik. Therefore, they don't make a bracha. Zok the Ravid, interesting. The Ravid says, "Amar Avram ro'eni midvarav shenoshim shem mevor shus ein mevorchis klal ein akol moedim." That's number one. Machlekes Harishonim. Does an isha make a bracha on a mitzvah the shazman grama? We discussed this also. I think it was yesterday or the day before. V'ani ro'eh midivrei Rava in Shabbos Chav Gimel the Amar Atam b'dmai she'ein mevorchim al hafrashis ma'asos mishum deroiva me'oris ma'asrim hei. Olav hachi misveikim mevorchim b'pnei shusveikim deraisa. Me'ata yoidina and vada tumta v'androigen is chayavim levorech. What's he asking? There's a halacha called Tmai. Tmai is a din drabana that you're chayiv to be mafish trim surmises. Why don't we make a bracha on afrashis trim surmises when you're mafish on Tmai? So Rabbi says, why? Because since Roiba Ma'oris Ma'asrim Haim, which we know, our halacha says there was Ma'usra already, just because I were chayshish for who knows what, for some kind of mute, the lay minkar, therefore they made a chash, really was not mamish a suffix, some kind of a chash, therefore we don't make a bracha. The din is Einochanami, that we're Michael Demai La'aniyim, and we're also Michael Demai La'orchim. Once upon a time, a guest was not, when we invite people for Shabbos, we live in good, in nice houses, and we invite friends. That's not called Machnas Oreach. Okay, that's what it means there in the Mishnah, in the Bracha. It doesn't mean that. Machnas Oreach means taking in wayfarers. They didn't have hotels once upon a time ago. And the person came in the middle, they didn't know where they had somewhere to eat, and you took them into your house. That's called Achnasus Orchim. That's the Achnasus Orchim of Avram Avinu. When we talk Achnasus Orchim, because you have a nice house, he has a nice house. Like I know in certain communities that I've been in, there's a minute who eats in the same house on Shabbos, in Johannesburg. Everyone's eating by somebody else. Nice minig Medina. Right, Yoni? You remember this. So mainly you have to understand. That's not Achnasus Orchim in the classical halachic sense. You couldn't be Michael, your guest, Demai, B'kai Gavna. The Stam Oreach doesn't have where to eat or where to go. He's begetted by Labayis. The Mishnah says in Peah that if he doesn't have, money of his own, he's traveling, doesn't know what to have food, he can take Meiser Oni. Oni Hoya Ba'isa Shoy, a Mishnah in Peah. Al Derech Zed, that's the Oreach between Michael and Demai. I just didn't want to make a mistake here, so I had to clarify that. Okay. So we see it's mutter to give it to aniyim, it's mutter to give it to people which otherwise wouldn't have what to eat. If this would be a suffix gomer, there's no way we're making for aniyim or we're going to make it for orchim, for goodness sakes. It's really not a suffix. It's a vadai, okay? So why do we make there's really no reason we mapish shumas and therefore, obviously, it's almost like a super hitter, which Chazal decide we should do for whatever reason it be. Rambam believes that's not a raya for sveikus. Therefore, there's not a kasha. The Ravid says, well, we see from there that there wouldn't be Reiva Motzim Asrim, we would make a bracha. Simon that we make a bracha on sveikus. That's not true. The Gemara asked the L'chers at Takanid Rabbanon. Since at Takanid Rabbanon, you should make a bracha. We didn't din Takanid Rabbanon because the Gemara understood it's Tevel Midrabbanon. And for the Gemara, no, it's not even Tevel Midrabbanon. It's not Tevel at all. It's Mesukin to just a Maisa Mitzvah Demai because of Ad Shash. That we didn't make a bracha on. That's the sum of the Pshat in the Gemara, and there's no question on the Rambam. So at the end of the day, we have here machlokes. If you do a din deraisa and you're chayiv to do it again, misafik, you make the bracha or not. Rambam says basically that suffix bracha is laka, you don't make the bracha. And he believes you do make the bracha. I don't understand. Why does the Rabbi think you make the bracha? The Rabbi thinks that the Tunkin androgynous, which eats in the sukkah, because the Sveka deraisa should also make a bracha. After the brachas are derabbanan. And the Rambam says no. The bracha, the atzuki should sit in because the rice. So the brachas are the rabbanon. What they done the machlekes? So the pashtus is the pashtus is based on the Talmud, and once again on Rabbeinu Yoina. So based on Rabbeinu, I could say it with a beichsva. I'd rather say it with a mokif from a rishon, if you don't mind. So the Rabbeinu Yoina is in brachas in Daf Lamed Gimel in Dape Arif, and he writes as follows. What happens in the case where he has to go back and he has to say that he has to be by, he's a suffix if he read Kriya Shema or not. Does he have to say it? Also, the Birchas Kriya Shema doesn't have to say Birchas Kriya Shema. This is an Ois V'Hadar Divrei HaMaschil V'Heicha. It's in Daf Lamed Gimel and Daf Arif, starting on the right column. I'm just going to read what's printed at the moment because I don't think you have the text.
We do.
He says, she says as follows. Then night to das by Arab. If they should keep it, she musubik davar shel Torah im Amar im Lay Amar bechuyu achshav latzis adavar kitikunai. Va'ayma aisay bebracha ki ilu leikara cloud. You actually have to, if you're something in Kriya Shema, you have to say it with the bracha, because that's the mitzvah kitikuna, remember that? In other words, the mitzvah will be lacking without the bracha. The bracha is not just an additive on the mitzvah. It is a tzura of how they gave the mitzvah kitikuna. The chol davar shusafik shel Torah mevarchim alav. He believes that's true not just by Bias Kriya Shema, but by all brachas. He owes that all brachas, if there's something to write, you say a bracha. And also by Bias Kriya Shema. Umeidi raya damina b'Shabbos daf chav gimel. They mevarchim al atmai. This is the Ravid. B'shash mafrishu imenu ha'maiser v'amina osan time ipnei shusafik shel divreya. The masher dafke ipnei safik shel divreyim ein mevarchim alav. V'yim haya safik shel Torah tzarich levarach alav. So the Ravid and the Rabbeinu Yoina concur. The only enough to mean is he says this also for Birchas Kriya Shema. And what's the lashon of why? Why? So he adds one word that we have to know. And the word was called because you have to do it kitikuna. That was the lashon of the Yaina. He says, "B'chuyu achshav leimar davar kitikunai." V'ayma oiseh bebracha. We see from Rabbeinu Yoina understand that the din of brachas on mitzvahs and brachas on Kriyat Shema are not just a separate kiyum. You have to make brachas, and also there's Kriyat Shema. So in Kriyat Shema, they decide to say these brachas at the time of Kriyat Shema, but they're a separate kiyum. And brachas on mitzvahs is a separate kiyum from the Ma'aseh mitzvah itself. State Rabbeinu Yoina know that the pshat is chachamim masakin a tzura to the mitzvah, and what is the tzura of a mitzvah to do with a bracha? And by Bias Kriya Shema, even if it's not Birchas HaMitzvah, it's a tzura how to be mekayim the mitzvah. And what's the tzura with brachas, the fanel v'acharel, we'll have to explain what this is. Dosh Deitner Rabbeinu Yoina that the Birchas of Kriyat Shema are not just a halacha in a kiyum of its own. Kriyat Shema is definitely a kiyum in the Kriyat Shema, the Birchas Kriyat Shema. But he equates between Birchas Kriyat Shema and Birchas HaMitzvahs. He thinks that all brachas are a tzura of a kiyum of the mitzvah. It is here where the Rambam disagrees, because the Rambam actually agrees to this pshat halacha by Kriyat Shema and doesn't agree by other mitzvahs. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Kriyat Shema, in Perik Beis halacha Yud Gimel, Safek Kara Kriyat Shema, Safek Leikara, what's the halacha? Safek Kara Kriyat Shema, Safek Leikara, is a Safek whether you read Kriyat Shema or you didn't read Kriyat Shema. Chayzer v'koreh, you must go back and read. Umevorach lefanev achareh, and you read both the brachas beforehand and both the brachas afterwards. So what we have is a major machlokes. Everyone agrees that the brachas of Kriyat Shema are part of the kiyum of Kriyat Shema. They are not birchas mitzvahs. We have to understand what they are. I will show you shortly. There is another bracha there. The brachas of birchas mitzvahs. This is already a machlokes. That's Rabbeinu Yoina and Brachas, and that's the Ravid in Hilchos Sukkah. That no, they are part of the, once again, Midrabanan, they're part of the Tzura of the Mitzvah Deraisa. And if it's a Sveika Deraisa, and you have to once again, through the Mitzvah all over again, then you have to do it Kittikunai. That was the major word needed. To say that means the Bracha is part of how to do the Mitzvah Kittikunai. The way it's supposed to be done, equal to the din of the kiyum of the mitzvah. These are the tzurim. This is where the Rambam argues. He agrees that Einachem Birchas Kriya Shema, that is the getter of the halacha. But when it comes to Birchas HaMitzvah, that's a separate din. That's an interesting idea. Let's try to understand what this is and how it works. And therefore, maybe to understand why there's no Birchas HaMitzvahs by Kriyat Shema. What's the getter of this halacha? So in your sources, you should have a Tshuvas HaRashba. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a Tshuvas HaRashba. This is Yuchasis the Ramban, Sibin Kuf Tzadik Beis. Just want to tell you a big nafkamil halacham, if I may, before we go further. You have to understand that if, according to all these Rishonim, definitely by Kriyat Shema, the brachas are part of the tzur, the kiyum of the mitzvah midrabanan. What happens if you go to a shul that you know that says that they daven after Zman Kriyat Shema? In America or Chutz La'aretz, it's quite common. They do have to create Shema. And if you daven in that shul, you're not going to be able to say the brachas lefanei v'acharei together with the Kriyat Shema in Toksman Krishma. Should your daven be a chidus, and therefore at least be able to say the mitzvah kitikuna? Because if it's halacha kitikuna, that means they had to be the same zman. So the ikar adin, the tick of Kriya Shema b'zman is with brachas lefanei v'acharei, and if you don't say brachas, if you say Kriya Shema before without brachas lefanei v'acharei, you're not doing it kitikuna. Is it better to daven at home at least shachris, or hypothetically at least daven until Glal Yisrael, and then wait for Shemona Esrei afterwards with the tzibur? What you'll be missing at the most is smichas gula l'tefillah. You'll daven Shemona Esrei with the tzibur, you'll mekayim tefillah with tzibur, you'll mekayim Kriya Shema kitikuna. What you'll be missing is only the din of smichas gula l'tefillah, which is not a kiyum in Kriya Shema either. It's a zaytik halacha. The Chaim paskin that way. The Chaim held lemaisa. This saying from ages ago. The Chaim held lemaisa. This is neged to many people. That if you're in a minyan, that's why in my shubah where I daven, the very makbet to finish Gal Yisrael b'tois man Kriyat Shema. And if needed, we start the davening 10-15 minutes earlier to be able to say Gal Yisrael by Kriyat Shema. What happens if you don't have a show like that? So it makes sense. It makes it. Reb Chaim paskin it lemaisa. I don't paskin shaylas, at least not on the internet. Reb Chaim paskin that way lemaisa. That's what he did. He said that he. I'm saying again, you're not going to be saying megillah tefillah. That's very nice. Okay, now your question is, what's better, to be saying megillah tefillah or tefillah b'tzibur? That could be an interesting question. You really want to know, Reb Chaim felt you should have him be a chidus. He obviously felt that smichas gula tefillah is more important than tzibur. This, I'm not sure what the hechrich is or what the raya is. But whatever it is, he definitely felt that the Kriya Shema with the brachas should be said before Meikra Medina. So this is why, because it's a kiyum in the midst of Kriya Shema. That's how Chazal were masakin to make Kriya Shema. Now let's look at this carefully.
The other possibility would be to say your Shema Esrei really, really slowly. If you're only missing, let's say the tzibur is going to miss only by 5-10 minutes. So you finish in time, and then you say your Shema Esrei very, very slowly.
You would have a problem because the Pri Megadim writes at Pri Chodesh, right? The Iker Tefillah B'tzibur, you should be saying the first three brachas together. So you mean to say
the first three brachas very slowly.
A long time. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help in most cases because we both know when Zman Krishma finishes at 8 and davening starts at 9:30 until you finish talking, etc., and Kel Udin and all that. it's going to take you an hour and a half. I don't think that.
No, I'm talking in a scenario where the shul is missing it by only 5 minutes.
That is definitely a scenario.
I've been in such scenarios in Teaneck and other places. They missed it by little. They don't adjust it per week by week. That brings 8:45.
David, if it's possible, great. I'm just pointing out a reality which, where for most people that would not be a possibility or not even a probability. So the question is, what should you do? I'm not telling you what Reb Chaim said to do. I don't know. I'm not his uncle. He's not my uncle. I don't he doesn't not mechayev me. Do I think he's right? Yes. What I do is my business. So you do is your business. How can I possibly shayla for people on the internet? Can I go further?
How would you ever be Mekayim Espalus or Shabbos Be'erev Shabbos? How would you ever be Devin Mari? How would you ever be Devin Mari V'achrei Plaga Mincha? B'chayshis for Reb Chaim, what Reb Chaim say?
I don't understand what you're saying. You'd have to do it again, slowly.
He's asking about summer minyan on Friday night. Some people, they do Shabbos early.
It's Mefusha Espalus Shabbos Be'erev Shabbos.
You're right. That is
about the Plaga Mincha. How would you ever be Mekayim that if you have to be Chayshis for Birkas Kriya Shema Bismano?
You're 100% right. You have a problem. I agree with you. I don't know that Reb Chaim did it either.
But it's a Mefusha Gemara. You can do it. Rebbe did it.
No, it doesn't say on Kriyat Shema. It says he used tzoli. He davened. It doesn't say on Kriyat Shema.
Yeah, but if davening goes with Kriyat Shema because the smichas v'lo litfilo, and then
that
includes
a lot of things which are totally in multiple things. I don't think the Rai is muchach. Say this. You can tell me it's Rishonim. Of course, you chivas adashet that people that you daven before after plag, and they even finish their suuda and walk on the river with the rabbanim. Before it was still daylight. I can show you a push Trumas Hadeshin, which says this. I agree. I didn't say this Hayrah is Hayrah that I understand clearly where it's coming from in the Rishonim. If you have options, possibilities, okay? If you have to choose between two, what is the better one to choose? Enochanami, is it better? Kulamalo pliga. It's better to daven Kriya Shema with brachas bismanoi than shalei bismanoi. According to all the Rishonim that say it's a kiyum din of the Kriyat Shema, that's the Rambam, that's Rabbeinu Yoina, okay? And no one argues this. It's a l'chayra. We'll see in a minute. L'chayra, whatever you're going to do, it's better to do that. And for whatever reason, we feel that to be Makabel Shabbos early has a priority. Okay, so you gave up on something, but understand, yes, it is a tzur and Kriyat Shema that you're giving up on. Your only question is, why are we giving up on it? That's your question. Your question should be addressed to the Rambam, to Rabbeinu Yoina, not to anybody else. Okay?
In a scenario where...
We pass can, I mean, it's my first from the Gemara, the Ovid Kamarovid, the Ovid Kamarovid. It's much of the Ma'ariv of the Plaga Mincha. So the only way you can do that and still be choishes for this is by giving up on Smichas Gula Litfilo and davening just Ma'ariv after, and then whatever you Naviach.
Again, giving up on smichas good, tefillah may be a possibility. I think you're going somewhere which I have no reason to elaborate on. You know what I mean? These are fushah rishonim. You have a question. How did Rabbeinu Yoina deal with your question? I can answer it. You figure it out. The question is not to me, right? The question is to Rabbeinu Yoina. It's mitzvah shaleki tikuna. How could you do it? Ask the question.
The question is to Reb Chaim. I don't think the question is to Rabbeinu Yoina because it's one tikkun versus another tikkun. You're giving up one tikkun versus another tikkun.
What? What did you say?
What's the question? Why is the question to Rabbeinu Yoina?
Because he said the Kriya Shema without brachas is mitzvah shleika tikuna.
Yeah, but maybe the tikkun is like Shema, the brachas with the Shema in davening, not the brachas with Shema bismano. Or you hold up we start in the Shema bismano is after Plaga Mincha.
Kriya Shema in davening. It's Allah. Kriya Shema, it's one. Tefillah is called Shema. So they're two separate entities. You're not making the mitzvah tikuna. How do we daven before plag? After plag? Your question is legitimate. It's a question on Rabbeinu Yona's lashon, not on Reb Chaim at all. Reb Chaim's doing nothing.
In regard to that question, I understand that. I believe Rav Schechter does Birkus Kriya Shema afterward in scenarios. In a scenario where the Rebbe wants to make early Shabbos, so then Rav Schechter will do Kriya Shema with the brachos later, as opposed to people just repeat Kriya Shema. He'll say Kriya Shema with brachos and not say it before, and only say Shmoneh Esrei at Mariv with when he's davening at Breuer's. and then later he'll say Kriya Shema with the Bracha.
That's very nice.
Watching the nights.
Then he gives up on Smichas Gula Litfila.
Right.
So he gives up on Smichas Gula Litfila. I repeat, there's a priority here. That's what we're talking about. Lamais in the Chuvas Rashba writes specifically as follows. Your question. The only reason you put Kriya Shema next to Shemona Esrei, the Gemara says is Lamed the Kriya Shema the Tefillah Mitev Divrei Torah. No difference saying Kriya Shema before Tefillah Dafka. You can say Mitev Lachayakut. But the tzura was we decided to say Kriya Shema before the Lamed Divrei Torah. How do we say brachas beforehand? The brachas levatal. This is the question which the Rajba was asked. And the Rajba answered, "Kfayadata, shazu das chachmei adayrais v'samcha al divrei Yerushalmi shemaforish." The Yerushalmi, the beginning of the second page of brachas. Ul divreim abrachas einam akvos. What's he referring to? In the beginning of the second parak of brachas, first Taisvus and second parak of brachas, the Taisvus brings a Yerushalmi, which proves from a certain Mishnah that the brachas are not ma'akev. What, you read the Taisvus for you? The Taisvus brachas and Hayakayra, the mamish, the first Taisvus and Hayakayra, the second parak of brachas. Hayakayra sekim kiven liba yatsa b'Yerushalmi. Amrina brachas ena ma'akvas. The apal pi shaloi amar shtayim lefanea. The shtayim machrei yatsa. Dim leikein tiksha mai mahani and kiven liboy halo birich tchila. What does he prove? The brachas are not me'akev. Now, to think the brachas would be ma'akev can only work if you understand that they were the tzura, the kiyum of the mitzvah. If it's a separate kiyum of bracha, for goodness sakes, of course it wouldn't be ma'akev. He'd bring a raya from a Yerushalmi, from a Mishnah by Kriyat Shema. Tosfos answers he asked the question in time that we say in the beginning of brachas, the brachas ain't a ma'akvos. And here it says the brachas are ma'akev. Yeshem the awesome ayah but Sipur. By Sipur the brachas are not ma'akvos, but Yachid brachas are ma'akvos. That sheet is at Tosfos. You open up the Rush in the beginning of the second parak of brachas. There the Rush brings Rabbeinu Haigon. I really didn't think of going into this totally, but here it is. Rabbeinu Haigon Kosav. The Sidron Eina Ma'akev. The Seder of the brachas, what to say first and what to say the second, is not Ma'akev. You have to read both of them. The diak is that don't matter at the moment. And therefore he says as follows. Alma stomach the Gemara is filled the Sidron Eina Ma'akev. Abel imloi omer klal Ma'akev. That's Rabbeinu Haigon bought in the Rush. The birchas Kriya Shema, as opposed to other brachas, is mi'akev in Kriyat Shema. Okay? I don't think we pass in that way la'alach. I'm pointing out a basic idea seen in the Rishonim and in the Geonim. The birchas Kriya Shema definitely are part and parcel of the din of Kriyat Shema. Okay? As opposed to other brachas, we know clearly brachas are not mi'akev. Okay, the Rishalmi seems to be equating them together, but whatever it be, this is the stomach of the Rush, Rabbeinu Haigon, B'chulu. So I'm pointing out, yes, by Kriyat Shema, the brachas are internally part and parcel of the mitzvah. And what the Rishalmi said, it's not mi'akev. Rabbeinu Haigon says it doesn't mean it's not mi'akev. It is the Seder is not mi'akev, but it is ma'akev l'maisa. Let's read the Chuvas Rashba now. So he brings this Yerushalmi with the Vrema brachas eina ma'akev. Brachas elu eina birchas shel Kriyat Shema. These brachas are not really part of Kriyat Shema. The ha mevorchim asher kichon eloi mevorchim asher kichon b'mitzvahs b'tzivanu likreis l'shema. It's not a birchas mitzvah, so it's not really part of Kriyat Shema. El brachas hein shenitkanu kodim kriya. There are brachas of the Chazal decided for whatever reason, I'll explain shortly, to say these brachas before the kriya, but not a bracha on the mitzvah of the kriya. Therefore, they're not there. The chein dasa ga'inu. The fichachim haya karei kodim zman kriya shema. Ein b'kach klum. He doesn't think. He says, Eino Chinami. You can say them before this man. Because that's what he said, that Eino Chinami. On one hand, we understand they're not Me'akev, and they're just a separate bracha, which the Masake put next to them, but you can say it before Zman Kriyat Shema. This is probably the muck of our minig by Plak. We can say it before Zman of Kriyat Shema. And here there's a difference. The Chaim thinks to say, since it's part of the Getter of Shema, L'chor is totally in the Zman of Shema. Okay? He doesn't say it's a part of the Kiyum of the Shema. He only says it was Niskan by the Shema. And since only Niskan by the Shema, therefore it's not totally in the Zman. And that's why you can say the Birchas Kriyat Shema even beforehand or after. Because he goes and says whatever he says. I suggest you read it further. I don't think I have to continue. He brings down a certain Havana of a Mishnah and Talmud and a Gemara Brachas that Bisman HaMikdash, they used to say Emes V'Yatziv independently of Kriyat Shema. That's granted. But that doesn't mean that the Kana wasn't to say that Kriyat Shema needs these brachas. So we have something which is clear. Let's put this all together. We have the Rambam and Rabbi Rambam. The Rambam definitely believes the Birchas Kriyat Shema is different than Birchas HaMitzvahs. They are part and parcel of the tzura of how Chazal wants us to fulfill Kriyat Shema. According to Rabbi Yaina, he believes that all brachas, Birchas HaMitzvahs, are also the same thing. It's this that Rambam argues. And the Rashba''s Mavurer, it doesn't say anywhere that it's part of the ashlama of the kiyum of the mitzvah, but there's a special takan to say them next to the mitzvah. But since it's a separate din, not part of the mitzvah, because he doesn't think this is called mitzvah to get the kuna. If you would take this lush of the Rashba, you would ask, what's the din by a suffix? No question about it, that you wouldn't be chayzer on the brachas. It's not part of the Shema. It's a din that when do you say it? By the Shema. But there's no reason to say that if you have to have a suffix, you have to do it again. Masha'enken, according to the Rambam, that you say it again as opposed to other brachas muchah. It's part and parcel of the midrabban of the kiyum of Shema. So we have here, I would say, two major shitas as far as Birchas Kriyat Shema is concerned. What is the purpose of the Birchas Shema? So let me just explain. I just want to show you 1 minute to understand what it is. In your sources, you have a piece of Tanya, where Itaka explains the idea. It is a big elaboration in Perek Mem Aleph, but if you go to your piece of Tanya, Perek Yud Beis, we'll just look at 4 lines. I'll explain 2 minutes. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th line from the bottom. He discusses the idea that Kriyat Shema is to think about the oneness of God and ultimately generate Ahavas Hashem, the Ahavtas Hashem Elokecha. He says, well, how exactly do you plan to do that? So he says, as we know, the Rambam writes, I'm just elaborating, the way to attain Ahavas Hashem is first look at the greatness of God in Teva, in science, and all over, and then realizing how and then you go further and further, he's so great, you just die to know more of him, and this intellectual quest or obsessive desire to know more about God, that's the key mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem. That's a Rambam. Bis'ava Taiva G'doila Leida'is Hashem. It's a Rambam. That's the key mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem. Taiva G'doila Leida'is Hashem. So basically, Birchas Kriyat Shema are there to set the stage for that. You look at Birchas Kriyat Shema, you're describing how God created the unbelievable creations of light. Then you describe an illumination and thought. You describe how the Malachim are, trying to find him and burning up to find him. You then describe how there was this great light which we saw things and now we don't have it anymore. Or Chadash Atzion Ta'ir. And then you end up with Avarabba describing how, the Chazal say, he hid this light in the Torah. Please give us this light, the perception through Torah. This is the stage generating the idea of Ahavas Hashem. Ultimately, when you say Shema Yisrael, you declare the oneness of God. You have the set stage to be Mekayim Kabbalas Oil Mitoich Ava V'Yira. Let's read the Tanya. Tanya writes, "Shezeu Iyin Amavur B'Kriyat Shema D'Oraisa U'B'Choser Shelefanea V'Achareha She'ei Midrabanan Hein Hachana L'Kiyum HaKriyat Shema." That's more than enough that I need at the moment. There are achana, I just explained what the achana is. There's a big elaboration on this in Perek Mem Aleph of Tanya, if we have the time. I don't think we're learning Chassidus here, so this is not what I'll be teaching, but it's worth seeing it. So the Geder of Birchas Kriya Shema, a Geder of a Hachana, that Hagdor of the Balatani is accurate. It's a Geder of a Hachana, allowing you to make the Kriya Shema Kitikunai, with Kol Kavanaseh, V'Digdukeh, etc. That's the Geder of these brachas. They're not Birchas HaMitzvahs. They're brachas to lead up, to prepare you for the encounter with yourself, of declaring Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, with a total understanding, emotional upheaval, whatever you're going to call it. Obviously, people haven't felt that and don't have this feeling of an intellectual, obsessive desire to know God by reading Birchas Kriyat Shema. They're not doing it the way it should be done. I have nothing to comment on that, definitely not in public, at least not on the internet. But that's the way it should be done. And as the Tanya really elaborates in Perek Mem Aleph, it's supposed to be a chana for Kabbalah's oil, mitech ava v'yira. So ask yourself a question if you've come anywhere close to that. I repeat, ava means mitaveh tava gdola leida et Hashem HaGadol. That's Lashon HaRambam. Has this generated an obsessive desire to know more of God and His Torah? That's the question that you have to ask yourselves. Whatever it is, this is the matorah of the bracha. This is the matorah. This is the purpose of Birchas Kriyat Shema. That's the stomach of the Agdora. I can understand. So the Raja believes, great, it's a great achana, but that's not part of the tzur. The achana before the mitzvah. The Rambam understands the achana is part of the tzur of how to do the mitzvah. That's the shaila. We understand the getter is achana, but the question is, what is the relationship between the achana and the gufa mitzvah? Does it become part of the tzur of how to do it? It's one. And if you do the mitzvah without the achana, you didn't do it kitikunai, which is the Cherebeir of Ein Yain and the Rambam. Mashenk and the Rajva believes no. Achana, like we should also be doing many things. You're supposed to be doing achana before davening Shemona Esrei. Whatever it says, that you're Mekayim, that with your Kishem Hashem Elokeinu Hashem's Fasai Tiftach. If you know what you're talking about, that's your key of Hichon Likras Hashem Elokecha as far as your Kavanas is concerned. Outside the Allah of Yisadev, Godav, etc., is brought down in Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so we understand that's also now. Is that a part of the Shemona Esrei? If you didn't do it, you didn't say Kishem Shemekah, did you miss Kitikuna? I think so. Because if the Kavan of Shemona Esrei is also Emid Lifnei Ashchina, that's a Mechayiv Achana. Any encounter with God is Mechayiv Achana. Just like the din is, you're supposed to sit Erev Shabbos and Yoshev Mitzapah L'Shabbos. Why? Kilu Likras HaMelech, Lashon HaRambam. The tzur of Kibbutz Shabbos and with a hachana beforehand of waiting for it. If not, you're not doing the right thing. The stomach of the Rambam, Perek Lamed, you're supposed to Erev Shabbos sit there, Yoshev Mitzapah L'Shabbos. You're supposed to sit a few minutes and wait. So not like jump into the shower and run into shul. You're supposed to sit after everything and wait for Shabbos. Probably should be saying Shir Hashir. It's enough in the Rambam. Yoshev Mitzapah L'Shabbos. You can read it up in it's the same halacha. There's no suffix that your Shabbos is chaser in the liquid in chaser if you didn't do it. So I can understand this is not kitikuna. The Rashba obviously thinks that Lav Davke did in the goof of Kriyat Shema. It's Chachamim told you do an achana, but it doesn't mean if you didn't do it, it's chaser kitikun. That's in the good samach like. In light of this, I can now understand a davar pasha. Why do we make brachas? What's the getter of a bracha before a mitzvah? So the Ritva writes in Psachim, in your sheets. I'm going to get these all mixed up here. Here. The Ritva writes in Psachim, you have it in your sheets. First of all, Moshe Rav Kook page in Psachim, it's page Kaftet. We're going on the Psachim of Zayin base. Kosev Rabbeinu Tam. I suggest you read it afterwards. Rabbeinu Tam is limited. The Ritva afterwards broadens it out. I'll read two pieces. Brachas halalo eina boas ha-mitzvah zu legamar nasis achshav. Ela moidu mishabeach l'kadosh baruch hu shetzivanu lasis mitzvah zu kishetava leyadeh. That's talking about alamila. V'tiknu akan. Why were they misaking this kind of a nusach? Lo dia shezos ha-mitzvah nasis l'shem yotzreinu. The idea of making a bracha is to lodia that we're doing this mitzvah in context of a service of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. He then continues, if you look at the second line, second ritva that I have, which is also on that page, but it's further down with Lamed Hey Moshe Rav Kook, because of our ritva. Times that Sha'amru Chazal, Levorach ala mitzvahs over la'asiyasun. Why do we make all brachas prior to mitzvahs? Kadesh yiskadesh tchila bebracha. He should sanctify himself with a bracha. V'yegale, he should reveal. V'yodia, he should announce. Shu oisakain. Why is he doing this mitzvah? Not because of Chinese parent worship or any other reason, but rather mipnei mitzvahs Hashem yisborach. So the getter of the all brachas, as the Ritva puts down, is basically chazal v'misakin, that we should basically set ourselves aside and understand, prepare, and to let know, I think primarily to let yourself know, that you're doing here an act of subservience in front of God that sanctified you and created you. Melech ha'olam. Look at the nusach bracha, and this is what you should have in mind when you do the mitzvah. Elokeinu melech ha'olam asher kiddishanu. Vitzivanu, all that. If you do it because it's a custom, you do it because that's the way Jews do it. You do that without understanding of L'keinu melech ha'olam, that it's an obligation. You're not seeing it as a mitzvah. You don't see it as a mitzvah. You see it as a custom. A person which does a mitzvah not realizing that's an obligation, he's not doing it as a mitzvah. The Hutner was very rigid about that. He believed that a person doing a mitzvah without, which doesn't live in a mitzvah context, he totally doesn't believe that anything is an obligation. It's a nice thing to do. It's historical, ethnical. He believes he's not Mekayim a mitzvah at all. It's a misate. The Hutner was very strong about that. Rabbi Rebbe disagreed with him. But at the end of the, but I just want you to, that was an argument to two of people, which I saw them as my mentors, that the Rabbi Rebbe, when Afkamina was for Miftzah Tefillin. Mitzvah, they do it because of whatever reason else, traditional, etc. Are they Mikayim a mitzvah or not? Hutner felt it was misasek. I'm not going into this question. I really don't want to get into it. I'm going to stick my head between two like that. Both of them were scary. But at the end of the day, it seems to be very clear that's the idea of a bracha. The idea of bracha is the mitzvah is a commandment, literally. Relationship as a melech ha'olam. That's called for God, and not for Chinese parent worship or custom or ethnic identity or anything like that. This is the idea of the mitzvahs. There's no question that we now can understand why all mitzvahs are there, basically, are a mitzvah tikuna at a certain stage. Definitely, I can understand. It's at a different level. And clear about the Yoina seeing it. I can also understand.
Yoni, you're not muted.
Okay?
I muted myself. Whoa.
Hey, Ellie, can you put the mute on? Thank you.
Muted now.
Thank you. Okay. See, I don't even see him. I just recognize his voice. Okay. Anyway, so going back to this, we now understand that the purpose of brachas are basically Hichon Nikras Hashem Elokecha. That's the purpose of brachas, as the Ritva writes. Obviously, the Agdor is the Bagbiach Kriyas Shema, the etzim of Kriyas Shema, of Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemayim, and the brachas which set that up are definitely a substitute for birchas mitzvahs. You don't need a birchas mitzvah there. That's a never pasha. Now this svara, one would have thought they made it up in some Meiri. It's a Meiri which writes this interestingly enough. Look at the Meiri, which is your next page. You have a Meiri there at the last piece of Meiri and the first paragraph of brachas, last two paragraphs. I'd like to look at the paragraph. Ra'iti Misha Sha'al. Lama ein anu mevarchim asher kichanu v'mitzvaysev v'tzivanu la'askias Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's a question. He's of the approach, which we will not deal with today, that there's a mitzvah, at least midrabanan, of Zeichel Yetziat Mitzrayim every day. Many people somehow take this as a given. It would seem to be, honestly, in Das Rambam, that is not true. But we will not go into that today. But that seems to be, at least the Meiri takes for granted, there's a mitzvah. As we point out, the Rosh believes there's definitely a mitzvah of Yetziat Mitzrayim in different mitzvahs, as we saw yesterday. And he said you don't make a bracha simply because of what? Because it's a davar shebalei. What does he say? V'chein lekriyat shema. Why isn't there a bracha on kriyat shema? Asher kichon says b'tzivano likreis parshas shema. V'chein letfila. Tefillah we know is a machlekes Rambam and Ravid. Whether it's definitely deraisa. The question is, the Rambam says it's only a chi of deraisa. Is it a chi of deraisa every day, or is it a chi of deraisa only be'eis surah? Well, I think it's right. I think 8 surahs every day. Whatever it only be, it's a chi of deraisa. Why don't we make a bracha? Shekachon tzvos v'tzivano lispal l'fnei hamakom. Any roya makom the shaylazu. Mary says, I see no place for this question. Sharei kriyat shema nitaku lanu brachos. Shiroi lam. Kriyat shema already has the brachos which are worthy or proper for the context of kriyat shema. Lifter brachazu, and therefore you're putter from this bracha. What does he tell? Why is it putter? First of all, he calls those brachas birchas haroylam, and we know they're not birchas hamitzvahs. There's no question about that. There's no nusach hashek kichon mitzvahs there if you wanted to, and that's called birchas haroylam. Obviously, the agdora is similar to what we saw in the Rishonim. A get of achana lemitzvah, however we're going to call it. The Yachid Atzma prepare the stage for Kabbalah's oil to your encounter with oneness of God. And therefore, this part is also Bracha Birchas HaMitzvahs. Why does it? It can only part of Birchas HaMitzvahs if they have the same goal. If they deal with two separate aspects, how would this Bracha substitute that Bracha? What, too many words of Baruch? Is that the idea? We have Shnaim for now, so I add another one. It means to say that that doesn't mean that they're essentially doing the same thing. It's not the same nusach, but essentially attaining the same goal. This is what you see in the Meiri. And therefore, once there is a birchas hashvach or birchas ha'achana, letfila, that substitutes for the bracha of Hashem Kishem Tzvos, which is also nothing more than setting aside that I'm standing in front of God, talking to God, and commanded by God. So there you have it. So this svara basically is found in the Meiri. Going back to that, so now we understand, as far as the Rif is concerned, why there's no problem with Kriyat Shema. Now let's look, if we may, how the Vadram brings the Rif. What does he answer here? Well, he answers as follows. Let's say the answer is as follows. And he says as follows. Where's the Vadram? And he answers, "V'tiretz ki b'meh she'omer b'tchila b'kiddush zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim yatsa." He obviously doesn't mean that you're yotze the bracha, because there's nowhere in the bracha of kiddush describing a mitzvah of liskor Yetziat Mitzrayim. All it's saying is that Shabbos is zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. The basis of the mitzvah of Kiddush of Shabbos. There's nowhere there describing the mitzvah of Yigat Lebircha Zochas Yom Hazesh Yisotzav Mitzrayim. It doesn't mean that. What does he mean? Well, the Pri Megadim says what he means. Pri Megadim says it before. Do I have it? I don't even know if I have it here. But I can tell you where it is, okay? It's not Pri Megadim, it's Pri Chodesh. The Pri Chodesh says this Mefurish in Shulchan Aruch. He says that the pshat is that with the Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim mentioned in Kiddush, you are Mekayim, the mitzvah of Agada already. That's frightening. And therefore what? And since you're Yotze the mitzvah already, so how's that an answer? I was Yotze the mitzvah. He's simply saying there's never if the mitzvah is done with a tzura of a bracha, one doesn't make a bracha on a bracha. We never make a bracha on a mitzvah of a bracha. He believes something unbelievable. We're mekayim the mitzvah of Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim Alel Pesach by saying Kiddush. which implies multiple issues which we will have to deal with a little later or more. Let me explain what this is. The Kuda Achas, he understands that the case of Kiddush is not just a case of Kiddush, it's the first case of the Arba cases. And since it's the first case of the Arba cases, that's the reason why the first case, the Kiddush must be done after the Shkia Tzeis, whatever the right time of night is. As opposed to Shabbos, we do it earlier. It's Mefursha and Taisus and Psachim and the Daf Tzadites. The Agada and everything must be done after the Zman. Whether now, since this is there are derises here, so the derises you have no problem because by the time you say matzah, who knows what. The Agada, which is Echet Tzis Mitzrayim, also should be done after the Zman, preferably after it says Kechav. Okay, I think that's the minig in most places. Whatever it is, it would make very little sense to do plag on Erev Pesach. That's what I'm trying to point out. Unless you plan to do the meal first and then do the Agada. Okay, problem. You obviously wouldn't do that. I'm not going into the possibilities. Okay, but that is a thing which stands on its own. So l'chayr, we understand that Dalet Kais is part of the Agada. That we understand, and I'll explain this and elaborate later. Just want to get the idea across. It's part of the mitzvah of l'sap loidia b'shvach haneis loidia. As we know, the Rambam says that the reason of Arba Kaisis, the Rambam says, is basically once again is a way of remembering of filling the mitzvah of Igat l'bircha and zocher. Let's read the Rambam, if you don't mind, Hilchos Chametz Matzah, where the Rambam writes. Here we are. Here it is. B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam la'arot atzmo kilu atzmo yitzam mitzrayim, etc. V'al davar ze tziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tor v'zachat ge'eved ha'yisa, etc. This is Perek Zayin Halacha Vav. Halacha Zayin lefikach kishesoed adam b'alay l'tzorach lechav v'lishtas b'u'meisav derech cherus. First of all, that is one halacha. V'aseba is a kiyum din of what? Of that zocher yom hazeh she'yatzasav Mitzrayim. Because the idea to say you came out of Egypt yourself, not someone else, but you were out of Egypt. That's the kiyum din, and therefore, Mamel, you understand the din of Aseba is that. And also it says, "V'chol echad ve'echad ben anoshim chayiv la'as nishtas b'layla lazar b'kaitz shel yayin," etc. It's a one halacha. Rambam believed that Aseba and Dalet Kaisis are both different suros, midrabanan, of how to fulfill the mitzvah Zachis Yermazeshi Yitzasab Mitzrayim. Basically, they extended the Haggadah and the whole mitzvah, which is din of Zachar, and added pieces to it. And one of that is the Arba Kaisis. The Rif basically believes that this is the Tzuras HaMitzvah, that although they told you there's a mitzvah of Kriya, but the mitzvah beforehand in Kiddush, you're Mekayim it already, and that's called a mitzvah of Dibur. What did he just told you? He just told you that don't think for 1 minute that the mitzvah is defined only by Kriya. They added Kriya, but the mitzvah is still called a mitzvah Dibra, and you're yotze to that already in Kiddush. That's what he says. You're yotze to that already in Kiddush, and since you're yotze already in Kiddush, Ramela, let's think two possibilities. First of all, if the Takana was to start the Haggadah with Kiddush, and Kiddush is part is the way to be Mekayim. That's what it means to say that the Midrabana, they put that in a nusach of Kiddush, saying you say bracha on a bracha. We don't make brachas on brachas. Number two, there's more than that there. If he's willing to say that it's part of Kiddush, Kiddush is not a din of Kriya. Kiddush is a din of Amira. And Amira Dafka, I'm sorry, you cannot say Kiddush in sign language. Okay? Kiddush, Amira Dafka, and there's a din of Kiddush, and that's the Kiyama din, so it's a din of Amira Dafka. Okay, Mamela Kumtas Lefizeh, the big basis of the question doesn't start anymore. The whole one of the question was that what did the Chacham tree transform the mitzvah of Sipur into a mitzvah of Kriya, because the Iker Kiyam is done through Kriya Saparshias, and where's the Iker Kiyam of the mitzvah? By saying the psukim of Avodim Ayinu, by saying the psukim of Arami Ovidavi, and by those 4 psukim, that's the Iker Kiyum, Midrabana. Okay? And therefore it was redefined as the mitzvah of Kriya. When he answered, it's called the Yetziat with the mitzvah of Kiddush. Kiddush, for goodness sake, there's no pasuk there. So Al Kocha, what's he saying? No, I'm retracting. It's not a mitzvah of Kriya, it's a mitzvah of Dibur. And if it's a mitzvah of Dibur, the whole question doesn't start from the beginning.
Where is this Pri Chadash again?
Let me just clarify before I take the question, Yosef, please. And I just want to repeat again, what we have here is something unbelievable. The Rif started with a hanacha, and the hanacha was that Einochinami, that the mitzvah is a mitzvah of Kriya. Because he understood there is no bracha on Dibur. He argues with the Rosh. He thinks there's no mitzvah bracha on Dibur, only a mitzvah on Kriya. And he believes that in the kasha was that midrabanan, that they redefined the mitzvah into a mitzvah of kriya. Dafki, you're yotze only with these parshas. The chiddush is no, you're yotze with dibur. And which dibur is that? The first dibur, as soon as you said zeichel Yetziat Mitzrayim, you mentioned Yetziat Mitzrayim in a very small little sentence. You're yotze the ikar mitzvah deraisa. So if that's the case, it's not a mitzvah of kriya, it's a mitzvah of dibur. We see from this Rif Kama V'Kama Hanachos. I want to put this on the table. Aleph, the din of Derech Shaila B'Tshuva is not Ma'akev, and you're yotze the mitzvah without it. That's before here. If you're yotze the mitzvah, and we don't even say the midrabanan, you're not yotze until you do it. Also not true. That's not true. That whole idea of Derech Shaila B'Tshuva obviously must be only later in whatever you're doing later. Because you're yotze with Dibur Ba'alma, there's no Derech Shaila B'Tshuva on Kiddush. If that's the case, once you yotze the mitzvah, what's the value of the rest of it? And the answer is quite simple. Yeah, that's the kol amar reza meshubach. So what you're doing from avodim ayu and on, according to the Rif, is already adding to the ikar mitzvah, as opposed to the Rambam, which understands kol amar reza meshubach is only for a rami an a rami oivedavi, and the ikar mitzvah is with avodim ayinu mitchila oivedavi zohayu aviseinu. The Rif believes that is all true, but the Rabbanon, but that's